Hello and welcome to the Mighty 90s Movie and TV Podcast. I'm Dom.
And I'm Simon.
And I'm Tom.
And on tonight's show, we're looking into Hook. Welcome to the Mighty 90s Movie and TV Podcast, where it's always 10:30 at night, so it's time to grab the sweets from the treat cupboard and move on upstairs and settle in, as tonight's movie for debate is Hook. So we are super fortunate and really, really happy to be able to introduce one of the Lost Boys. Mr. Thomas Tulak has joined us on this podcast. So welcome, Thomas. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
We're doing just fine. Fantastic.
Awesome.
We're so honored to have you on. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
First things first, how's things in your side of the world? So we know you're in LA. How's things over there at the moment? Staying safe?
Oh, I'm staying safe as, best as possible with everything that's been going on. Things for me personally are all right. I've got my apartment and I literally just moved into this apartment just before the pandemic hit and lockdown hit and everything. So I, got in right under the wire and things are doing pretty smooth over here, I think. For me, at least, not necessarily for the rest of everything.
Well, that's good. Well, at least you're settled and you're, in a safe place. That's the main thing. And happy. So obviously the main reason that we're here to talk is about Hook, but we love to learn a little bit more about you and kind of what you're involved in and what you're doing. So I tried to look up as much as I possibly could about you over the last week or so.
Okay.
Since we worked out that we were lucky enough to have you on. So I know that you are you have your own YouTube channel. Which I've gone through some of the videos in there. Obviously a big Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
And you do like songs to go with that, is that right?
I do. My YouTube channel is kind of a variety show, a bunch of different things. Comedy vlogs, I do some songs, music videos, a bunch of stuff. I did just release like a month ago. Oh man. Time is just, relative lately, but I did put out a music video, a silly little rap song about, wasting time in quarantine by catching up on Game of Thrones. And I have put out a rock song that's off my album called Hold the Door, which is also kind of equating Game of Thrones and the character Hodor to, staying at home and quarantine and holding the door and, not going outside and all that. So there's a little bit of music mixed in with a little bit of, comedy vlogs and some filmmaking stuff and just a whole bunch of stuff going on over there.
So I watched both videos and I really enjoyed the rap. That was really good. That was featuring, I assume, a friend of yours.
An actor friend of mine. I do I do filmmaking, and I have a list of actors that I like to work with regularly, and he's on the list. And then I found out that he also does rap, and I was like, hey, you know what? I've got this song. Let's work together on this song that I've been doing. And so yeah, an actor friend of mine jumped in and did the hook, so to speak, on the song. Nice.
And the Hold the Door track as well. I saw that. Extremely sort of heavy metal. And rocking a face mask as well at the same time.
Yeah, that song was more. So the rap stuff is just kind of a fun side thing for me. The heavy metal kind of rock stuff that I take a little bit more seriously. It's still silly. It's still like humorous. But I actually have an album of music like that I wrote all the songs, performed all the instruments, and that album was just released on Spotify a couple of weeks ago. And I'm about to drop, probably within the next week or two, I'm going to drop the second music video from that album. And so that's really exciting because it's my first album to actually be released on Spotify.
That's awesome. I mean, can you tell us a couple things? We've got you're dropping bombs. For the YouTube. So we'll put the links in the description for the YouTube channel, and then links to the album on Spotify. But just so people know, what's the name of the YouTube channel?
So the YouTube channel is just youtube.com/Thomas Tulak. So it's pretty easy to find. I think the channel name itself is named after my production company, Easily Amused Group Productions. And it's there where I kind of, put a little bit of everything that I'm working on, whether it's, like I said, the vlogs or it's filmmaking, because my primary focus is filmmaking. And so there's a lot of filmmaking stuff going on, music stuff, and it's all kind of there.
Awesome. And so with the with the album, this is going to be on Spotify, or is on Spotify already?
It's currently right now on Spotify and iTunes.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
The album, the artist name is Giant Robots in the Sky. And the album is called 42, which is named after the title track 42, which will be not the next song that I kind of release a video for, but probably the one after that. And the album, it's all like, it's heavier rock, but it's silly at the same time. I've had people listen to it tell me that they feel like I could be the heavy metal Weird Al. So like the song 42, for example, it's got a heavy groove to it. It feels very heavy, but the song is about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So.
Oh, nice.
And then I've got another song about Star Wars and one about Doctor Who, and I'm just running the gambit of all the nerdy stuff that influences me, putting it out there through the heavy rock kind of stuff.
I watched one of your other videos on Star Wars and your theory that the problem with Star Wars is Star Wars fans.
Yes.
Which
that's another thing I do on there is talk about movies and stuff. But yeah, man, that the Star Wars fans, they're so divided and so opinionated. They just, it's hard to just like Star Wars anymore without having your opinion influenced one way or another by the fandom. I went into the theater to see Rise of Skywalker without having seen any reviews or anybody talking about it beforehand. So I went in with a completely blank slate. And the first and second time I watched it, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. There were a couple of things here and there where I was like, okay, yeah, but I'll dismiss that and enjoy the movie. And then I went online and I started seeing all these people talk about it and breaking it down. And I was like, oh, wait, yeah, huh? And as much as I didn't want it to, it affected my opinion of the film, just hearing what other people had to say. And that's a bummer, That's like, that makes it hard to just enjoy things anymore, and that's the fault of the fans. People, I get it, take it, it means something to you. I totally get it. It means something to me too. But at the end of the day, relax. It's okay if somebody likes The Last Jedi and you don't. That's fine. Just relax, live and let live. That's kind of the point of that film.
Well, that kind of ties into the difference in the eras, I guess. Two 90s films like Hook that we're obviously going to get to, but where the internet wasn't a thing, or it wasn't a thing like it is now, you don't have that. You don't have these forums of people saying, well, if you freeze frame at 43 minutes and 4 seconds, you'll see it's a stunt person or whatever. And people just sort of embrace the movie for sort of what it is and how it makes them feel. And I mean, at the same time, I guess we're probably sitting in a hypocritical position talking about fandom of these movies. As you can tell, this is what Dom and I love to do. But the one thing we say about our podcast is we always keep it positive, and we don't ever sort of trash on movies, because we don't pick movies to cover that we don't like. So
and there's a big difference between negatively trashing on something and positively I love Star Wars, the original movies, but every time I watch it, I make fun of it, but I'm not doing it out of a negative way. I'm like, oh, that effect didn't work, or this thing, or what, but that doesn't take away from loving it. It's when you get in there and you sort of have the negative, vibe of like trying to tear it down for other people. That's a whole different thing. So it's totally cool to like talk about and debate things, as long as, like you said, you keep it positive. And that's really where the difference lies,
For sure.
There was one other video that I actually really enjoyed, and that was your experience at Starbucks when someone paid for your drink, and then which was really kind, because I assume it's a drive-through, and they paid for your drink. The person ahead of you paid for it, which is great. And Simon probably hasn't seen this, but it was a $3 coffee or
I got one drink for like $3.
So Thomas was then really generous and said, "Okay, let's keep this moving. Let's keep this generosity going, because positivity spins positivity," and offered to then pay for the person behind him, and it was like nearly $20.
It was like $20.
Yeah,
they must have got like 4 or 5 drinks or whatever, and you can't just be like, wait, okay, so before I offer to pay for the car behind me, what was their tab? You kind of just have to. When I said that, okay, well then I'll pay for them. She was like, all right, and did it, and then it was $20. I'm like, well, wait, okay, hold up. I'm in now. I can't back up and be like, never mind. I've already committed, so I have to. But it's a thing that happens. So I've been told often. And the one time it happened to me, I ended up paying $20 for my one little drink.
Hey, but you still did a good thing. You was doing it out of a place of kindness. So
exactly, it's like you said, positivity breeds positivity, and so pay it forward. And even if you pay $20 more than you had to, then you're still putting positivity out into the world.
For sure.
Thank you, by the way, for watching videos from my YouTube channel. Like that's really appreciated.
That's okay. It was great content. It was good to watch. I've actually got a question about one more.
All right, hit me.
It does spin into a hook question, so don't worry. Okay. We will get to hook properly soon enough. But
no worries.
I assume you've got like a Star Wars fan film trailer on there. I think, is it under your Easily Amused Group Productions?
It's the featured video when you go to my YouTube channel. But it's under my Easily Amused Group Productions production company, and it's a Star Wars fan film, but it's kind of taking a different look, a different twist on Star Wars, which is something that I haven't seen done in any iteration of Star Wars before. And in preparing for this, I did watch a lot of fan films and look at a lot of extended universe stuff, and I hadn't seen anything that did, at least in a serious way, what I was trying to do with this film, whereas I'm trying to take the ethos of Star Wars and bring it into modern day Earth and have it actually take place in like the here and now. And I wanted to see where I live represented in the world of Star Wars. So is going to be unlike probably any Star Wars that we're all used to, but I also wanted to focus on telling a good story as opposed to just having an excuse for a lightsaber battle and the special effects and stuff. So I feel like adjusting to watching Star Wars in modern day Earth might be something that a lot of people initially take issue with, but if they actually give the film a chance and kind of let themselves get into the story, I feel like hopefully people will enjoy that as much as they enjoy, any other Star Wars piece of content.
Well, hopefully people realize or can see the difference that Star Wars is a long time ago in a galaxy far away, and you've brought it up to date, so their technology and their world has met ours now. So that's great. I really enjoyed it from watching the featured sort of trailer and stuff like that. I thought it was great.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. The idea behind it is that the events of the Star Wars films and everything that happens under the Star Wars banner actually happened a long time ago in a galaxy far away, and here we are now in present day, a long time later on Earth, but the Force is real, lightsabers are real, all that stuff is real, and we're just years later after the war when the Jedi lost and the dark side took over. But in doing that, that means that I had to create all new characters, because if all the characters that we know from Star Wars are going to be long gone by the point of this story, so I had to create a whole new Sith Lord, a whole new everything. So I kind of just took the mythos and the ideas of Star Wars and, redesigned it to fit with a more, Earth-based story.
Cool. That's very cool. So will will Easily Amused Group Productions be making Hook 2? That was the Hook intended question. That was
Okay. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Maybe as a fan film kind of thing, but I don't know. We'll see. I can't speak either way on that.
And they've got an original Lost Boy, so why the hell not?
Why not? Although I might have trouble fitting into that onesie again, though.
You never know.
You never know. Hey, when a few years back when we did the 25th anniversary Lost Boy reunion, they put me in a onesie. So, and I remember saying at the time, if you take, because I was 6 when we did Hook, so I remember saying, if you take a 6-year-old and you put them in this onesie, it looks cute. But if you take a 30-year-old man and you put him in the onesie, it doesn't look cute anymore. So.
It starts looking a bit awkward.
It starts looking a bit awkward. Yeah.
I was going to touch on that as well. The 25-year anniversary, so it was in 2016, and there's a great cast photo of obviously yourself and the rest of the Lost Boys, or most of them at least, anyway. And it was put together by 22 Vision. I think the production company that they'd done a few other like reunions, like Little Rascals and a couple of others, and obviously Hook being the massive film that it was, even from 1991. So watching it recently, it still holds up today, still funny, still got great action, still got great effects, considering the year. And that must have been nice to kind of get back together again. So are you still in touch with the other guys from the film, or are you in touch with them as a result of the reunion, or any of that, or not at all because you weren't interested, or?
Not like on like a regular basis. I have contacts for a lot of the Lost Boys, and I can, if I needed to, I can reach out to any of them. And I have at different points, reached out or they've reached out to me, and we have talked a little bit. We all obviously have this thing in common, but it's not like, you see other former cast members getting together all the time and doing stuff. It's not necessarily, that tight knit, because you got to remember too, there was a massive age difference between the Lost Boys. I was the youngest on set at 6 years old, and the oldest on set was Dante, playing Rufio, and he was 17. And so there was, and there was, all the Lost Boys spanned the gamut between 6 and 17. And so, we all kind of tended to hang out with other kids that were close to our age, and that's still kind of the way that it is. So there were a couple other Lost Boys that are close to me in age, and I feel like I maybe talked to those ones a little more than some of the other ones. But that said, I can reach out to Dante anytime, or James Maggio anytime, if I wanted to catch up or whatever. I do have ways to get a hold of them if I wanted to.
James Maggio is like a hero of Dominic's, because though Dom might not say it, I'd say it for him. But Dom's a massive Band of Brothers fan, like huge, like obsessed. So
I'm heartbroken that Band of Brothers doesn't fall into the 90s, so we can't talk about it on
here. Well, maybe you should have a special episode where you cover just a little bit after the 90s, considering you've got James Maggio, who was in something in the 90s, and maybe a little exception can be made.
That's a great shout. I'll have to talk to Simon about that. But looking at the 25-year picture, James Maggio, as much as I love him and I'm a fan, he actually looks the oldest. It might be the beard that he had at the time, but the beard wasn't it suits him, but it made him look a little bit older than everyone else.
Yeah, a little bit. And Dante, man, he doesn't age.
he looks exactly the same. I follow him on Instagram and reached out to him as well, but unfortunately, no contact. That's fine, because Instagram's a busy world. He does. Yeah, you're right. Looks exactly the same.
And he's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet too. Like, he's super chill about like anything, and no matter what's going on, he's always got this kind of suave swagger in every little thing that he does. A couple years ago, he produced a fan film about Rufio that was supposed to be a prequel to Hook, and kind of the origin story of Rufio. And he produced it, and he played a character in it, and he invited me to the set while they were filming it, and they were going to try to work in a cameo for me, but they ran out of time. But that's, whatever. But so hanging out with him on set and watching them film that, like, and reconnecting with him, he's just a cool guy. He's just a really, really cool guy.
I have to ask, does that exist somewhere then, the Rufio prequel? Because if that's actually an amazing idea for how you could continue, like, in this universe, is to have how what happened when Peter left, and how that all built up. So is that on YouTube somewhere or somewhere to download?
It is. It is. Last I remember, it is on YouTube. I want to say it's just called. I think it's called Bangarang. Actually, I'll have to find it after this and send you guys a link. But yeah, it's on YouTube if I remember correctly. It should still be there as far as I know. But yeah, he produced it, and it had a decent budget for a short fan film, and it was released online and kind of went sort of mini viral, if I remember correctly. This was a few years ago, so I'm hazy on the specifics. I'll find a link and I'll send it to you guys.
Oh, yeah, we'll put it in the description as well, so people can get involved in it. What can you tell us about how you first got into acting? Like, in terms of, were you, obviously you're saying you were 6 years old, but I mean, were you like doing commercials before that, or was Hook the first thing you did, or how did it all start for you?
So my when I was 5 years old, my mom took me to an open talent search from this company that was, a management company. They were looking for new talent, and my mom caught wind of it, and she took me to audition, and I was I was one of 500 kids that auditioned to be represented by this company. And then I was one of I think only 100 to get a call back, and then one of only 10 to get a third call back, and then I was one of only 2 out of the 500 that they took on as new clients. And then from there, I did a few little things before Hook. I did a commercial for Care Bears, the stuffed animals, the stuffed teddy bears.
I love Care Bears.
I was on the cover of TV Guide when they were it was something, I'm going to butcher this horribly because this was a long time ago, but something to do with the war that was happening at the time. And so there's little 5-year-old me on the cover, dressed in military garb that is too big for me, holding a rifle that is bigger than me, and tears coming down my face. And the caption says, "Where did Daddy go?" I remember that clearly. And then I did a couple music videos, but like there was like a choir of children standing there together singing, and I was just in the choir, so nothing super special. But it was those kind of deals where it was like they got a bunch of different celebrity singers together, and they sang "We Are the World" and "Can You Tell Me Who the Heroes Are," and that kind of stuff. And then Hook was the first big, like, notable thing that I got. And then after Hook, I did a couple other things. I was on 4 episodes of Cheers, but they cut out all of my parts out of 1 episode, so I'm only credited for 3 episodes. But I did do 4. And then I did a pilot for a show called Middle Ages that didn't end up getting picked up. And then I did an episode of Mad About You, just the 1. And then shortly after that, I kind of stepped away from acting, and I kind of decided I wanted to, kind of grow up outside of the spotlight. This was all happening when I was 6 and 7 years old. And so I kind of wanted to, come of age away from the spotlight and have a normal, so to speak, upbringing. And then in my 20s, I decided to get back into it, like allowing myself the time to sort of grow up and have a semi-normal sort of upbringing.
there's so many puns there that I want to put out there of you saying, you know, you want to grow up and it's Peter Pan and the Lost Boy, but the I can't connect the dots. I'm sorry. I wish I could do better. But Dom, have you got any puns?
I mean, it's like a newspaper headline waiting to happen, isn't it? A lost boy wants to grow up or something like
that. I keep joking that I should never have left Neverland because...
Well, I mean, it must be quite a difficult thing in a way of having so much success, like at such an early age, that it must in a way cast a shadow over your future that you then almost are forever associated with it. I mean, fortunately, I would like to imagine, we'll find out from you in a second, I guess, you're connected to what is a beloved movie and, you know, has, you know, Robin Williams and, you know, Spielberg film, and, you know, it's a classic. Where I guess others are less fortunate and they're connected to things that, you know, people can be fickle and hate about and whatever. But I mean, is that something that you've found difficult or something that, you know, you've enjoyed sort of having that connection, I guess?
Well, there are pros and cons. It's definitely something that is going to be with me for the rest of my life and following me in whatever endeavor I undertake, which can be a good thing and can be a not good thing. I mean, it just kind of depends on what it is I'm trying to do. But like, I mean, if my attachment to that film opens doors and gets people interested in the things I'm doing now, then cool. Then, you know, then I would call that definitely a good thing. And I am glad to have been a part of something that is received in such a positive way. Like you said, there are plenty of people who are attached to things that are less beloved by people in general, you know, and I mean, I'm glad that I left such a positive mark with such a well-liked film. I don't want to cite any examples, but it could have been a lot worse, you know. It has its ups and downs. I did try to kind of grow up away from the spotlight, and that did prove to be a little more difficult than I had anticipated. As much as I went to a normal public school, just like everybody else, but at the same time, that sort of followed me everywhere, and I kept getting, you know, it was known and I was recognized, and for a kid growing up, trying to grow up in a normal world where they're accepted by their friends for who they are instead of something like that, it can, you know, be trying. But at the end of the day, I'm glad to have been a part of that film.
No, I was just going to say, it's great that you've, you know, from quite a young age as well, you made that decision to lead what I suppose we would call what a normal life, as normal as it can be.
As normal as it can be, yeah.
Yeah, in this day and age as well. And the fact that you wanted to kind of separate yourself from that. There's so many cases of, you know, child star syndrome, which, you know, you definitely would have fallen into that category, I think, if you'd carried on, because there's absolutely no doubt you would have kept being picked for things and cast and thrown into other feature films and all sorts of things. So.
Yeah, I kept hearing, like you said, the child star syndrome. I kept seeing example after example of other child actors falling into these sort of routines that, you know, seem to be leading to nowhere but disaster, and I didn't want that for myself. So I'm proud to say that I escaped the world of child acting without a drug habit and without, you know, not that I'm trying to talk negatively about anybody else, but I escaped relatively unscathed. I don't do drugs. I don't, you know, do any of that stuff. My life is not a disaster. And I think I do kind of attribute that to stepping out when I did, and trying to come of age, you know, as a private citizen as much as possible, at least.
And to decide to go back into that sort of lifestyle and set up your own production company and make your own films and make your own music videos and have an album and stuff like that is all these like positive things that you're doing and putting back out into the world at an age where you're a lot more mature, understand it a lot better, can take control of it a lot better. You haven't got anyone kind of hovering over you in control of what you can and can't do. So it's probably a lot more comfortable for you doing it now anyway. So, you know, definitely probably the right choice and, you know, a good path to follow.
Oh yeah. As an adult now, it's definitely easier to understand and cope with everything that's going on than it was as, you know, as a child. When I was 6 years old and I was on the set of that film, I had no idea the gravity of what was going on around me. You know, I had no idea the weight that my co-star and that my director and that everybody I was working with, that they carried. And that was something I learned as I grew up, because at the time you're a little too young to process all of that. And now as an adult, like you said, trying to start my own production company and getting back into it on the other side of the camera and doing what I'm doing now, it's definitely something that I am more equipped to understand and process and handle with an element of maturity that I didn't have when I was 6 and 7 years old.
Well, I think also, I mean, all of those things, but even stepping away, like you said, you probably still felt the weight of it in the sense of, so we've done quite a few of these with actors and particularly child actors in the 90s, and a lot of them have said that it's when they go to, you know, regular high school or whatever, that they actually sort of get picked on for having this success, which is crazy to me, and I'm sure to Dom as well, because again, we're fans of all of this stuff, obviously. So if you were in our high school, we'd be like, oh, this is amazing. But to some people, I guess it comes down to adolescence and jealousy. It's envy, really, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah. My mom used to tell me that the people who are picking on me at school are just jealous. So, there was a lot of that, absolutely. And it did kind of breed, you know, it made going to public school difficult, and that's, you know, it's a shame. And like you said, I don't understand if you're a fan of the film why you're gonna do that. I don't think that's something that happens as much in today's culture, but you know, it was the 90s were a different time, and yeah, definitely there was a lot of ridicule attached to it.
But I hope that, and obviously you said that you can, but to reflect on it, you know, as an adult, and you just have to know that is all jealousy and envy. And you mean you were in a Robin Williams, Steven Spielberg movie. Like, that is phenomenal. I'm jealous of you. I'm not gonna, you know, bully you. I'm gonna praise you. But, like, that's what a healthy person would do. But you know, kids are just stupid, aren't they?
Oh yeah, we're talking about an age and an era where if you liked a girl, you hit her with a rock. You know what I mean? So I think the same kind of thing applies, and it is what it is. And I'm grateful to, you know, be past that era. And now, in the past, you know, decade or so, ever since the emergence of social media and all that, I get the opposite. There's no more ridicule. There's no more anything negative. Now it's all positive interactions, like what I'm having with you guys. So, you know, I feel like the ridicule and all that is done and over and in the past, and now we can just move on to more positive interactions.
I'll throw you some more positive vibes right now. So my I watched Hook recently. Obviously I've seen it a million times, but I watched it recently for this with my wife, and I said we're going to be talking to Tom, one of the Lost Boys, and she was like, which one? And I said, Too Small. And she's like, like, when we were watching it, she was just the whole time he is the cutest kid. I mean you are the cutest kid ever. I mean, how was that? How was that, Greg?
I'm kind of glad Simon said that, because I was going to say it. It kind of feels a bit more comfortable coming from someone who's got a wife. So
I've heard that quite a bit, actually, and it's funny because at the time that we made the film, I was the youngest, and therefore I was the smallest. And then when we got together again for the 25th anniversary, I was the biggest. I was the biggest Lost Boy there. Everyone else is short and thin, and I'm not. So it was just but well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, so when Dom and I were talking, you know, in the days leading up to this, and Dom said, and I'd noticed, you get a lot of screen time. Like, that cute face gets on the screen a lot, my friend.
Yeah, I actually originally was not supposed to have as much screen time as I did, but as production went on and Steven just grew to like me and my performance and my work ethic and my professionalism more and more, he just kept giving me more parts and more screen time and more things. And my dad likes to tell this story all the time, where he was on set and he was bringing me to one of the sound stages so we could film something, and Steven comes walking up surrounded by people who all wanted his attention. And when he saw my father, he stopped everybody, quieted everybody, just to tell my father what a good job I was doing. That's a story my dad doesn't like to forget. So.
That's amazing.
There's one that you wouldn't forget, and definitely, I mean, he should be saying that every day to everyone he sees, right. Even if he's told them 1,000 times before.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, so can we take it back to how you got like the audition process for Hook, like the first time you met Steven Spielberg, like how did that all manifest?
So, like I said, I had auditioned for this talent agency who were looking for new talent, and a little bit into working with them, and I'd gone on all these other things. The timing kind of just worked out perfectly, that right in there, my agency caught wind that Steven was working on this film and was he was looking for children, to play these parts. And originally he didn't want to cast any child that was younger than 9, and I was cast at 6. And that was just because, I made such a good impression, I like to say. But so my agency got wind that Steven was casting for children, and they worked it so that I could get an audition. And I went to Steven's office, and I remember he had a waiting room outside of his office that I don't know whether he did it specifically for this because he was auditioning a lot of children, or if his office is always this way, but the office was full of arcade games. And I was blown away because, I mean, at the time, arcades were a big deal, and you go to arcade, you put a quarter in and you play a game. None of these games required quarters. You could just walk up, hit a button, and start playing. And I probably waited there for 20, 30 minutes, and I was just playing games all the time. I was just, when they called me in, I almost didn't want to leave the game that I was playing to go and audition. And then I remember I walked into his office, and it was almost like walking into Monty Burns' office from The Simpsons. He had this long table, and at the end of the table, he was sat there in this kind of tall chair, and there was a bunch of people standing around him. And at the other end of the table where I walked in, there was a chair at the end of the table, and I was meant to sit in that chair, but instead I waltzed all the way down the length of the table. I pounded my fist on his desk, and I said, "You want me in your movie?" And then when I got home, there was a voicemail on my answering machine saying that I was getting called back for a second audition. And then same thing happened again. I got home from the second audition, and there was a voicemail saying I got the part. So there you go.
That is an incredible story. I absolutely love that. I mean, but there's actually an interesting connection there. So have you seen the movie The Little Giants, with the American football movie, like kids, Rick Moranis?
Not since it came out. Not sure. I know the film you're talking about.
But yeah. So that was made by or produced by Amblin. So it was Spielberg was connected to it, but he didn't do it. But he helped with the casting of it. So the reason I bring it up is because we had a couple of the cast members of that movie on our podcast, and they were talking about their audition process and that they auditioned for Steven Spielberg, and they said that in the waiting room area that they had these arcade games and video games. But it even goes a step further. They were showing a movie in there, and the movie was Hook.
That's great. That's fantastic. I don't recall there being a movie playing when I was in the waiting room, but I recall the video game. I recall there was one video game in particular that was my favorite. It was a racing game, and it was one where you actually climbed into a little car and you sat in a seat and there was a steering wheel. And I think that's the one I spent the most time on. So that's great to hear that other people remember that waiting room too.
Yeah.
As an impetus for the kids of that film, it must have been, you need to be as good as these kids. Be this good.
I'll take that. I'll definitely take that.
Especially that little one.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, there's even a minute at the very end where it looks like you're about to be left in charge of Neverland.
That was kind of a big deal because they didn't tell us who was going to be picked. So we went into filming that scene not really knowing who was going to be chosen to be the next leader of the group. And there were rumors going around, and the most popular rumor was that it was going to be me because I was the youngest. And so I went into that fully thinking, nobody knows it, but I'm going to be the one left in charge. But after the fact, when I got with the other Lost Boys again, they all kind of thought that it was going to be them too. So we all kind of went into it thinking we're going to be the ones to get picked. And then, and they did that so that when we're filming, the reactions can all be genuine from the person who actually gets picked. His reaction can be, genuine. And so we did one take, the first take, where we didn't know who was going to be picked. And then after that, we did a second take where we all know now because we just did the first take. And so, we saw who was picked. And I think that one, the energy was a little bit less because we're all like, oh, well, I thought it was going to be me and it's not. So fine, okay.
You should have gone and found Steven Spielberg before that scene and slammed your fist on his desk and been like, make me the leader of the Lost.
You want me to be the leader? Yeah, I should have done that.
So you get the part. Mm-hmm. Amazing. And then what point do you find out that like Robin Williams is involved and, everybody else, Dustin Hoffman, Bob Hoskins, and when you find out
Julia Roberts,
are you aware? He's making that joke, I think, because I always leave out the female protagonist.
Okay.
Exactly.
I don't mean to. I'm just not interested. I don't know.
Shocking.
So I actually found out, if I recall, at the table read, when I first got the part, all I knew was that I had got a part in a movie. I didn't really know, what that meant and who was going to be involved. And even when I did find out, I was 6 years old. I had no idea, what that meant at the time. So like when I found out, oh, it's Steven Spielberg, oh, it's Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts, that didn't really mean anything to me at the time. You know what I mean? And I think maybe if I had known, there might have been an element of added stress, added pressure, because I know that, the heavyweights that I'm working with, but since I didn't know, it was more just like a playtime with no pressure. And then I found out after, like in the following years, the sort of gravity that all of these names brought to this film. And then it was a whole kind of different experience as I'm learning, Robin's career is this and Steven's career is that. And, oh, wow, they're really, wow, there was a lot of people involved. But when you're 6, all you know is, you're having playtime. Robin and I became really good friends during the filming of that. And so I grew up with kind of idolizing Robin as a personal hero, kind of looking up to him like a big brother. And I didn't really, I felt like I saw Robin in a different light as with a more personal relationship than maybe most people do, because they see him through his films, and I actually spent time with him and bonded with him. And so when I started learning of Robin's career after, it was more like supporting a friend, than actually idolizing an actor, so to speak. So,
well, I mean, yeah, first and foremost, rest in peace, obviously, to Robin Williams. And that obviously must have been difficult for you personally, having a relationship with him. And I mean, he's so important to so many people's childhoods growing up and adults as well. I mean, his career spans so many different sort of avenues, doesn't it? But I mean, I guess you would have then got to have known him and seen him in some of his biggest hits before they came. Like Jumanji was post Hook, and Mrs. Doubtfire post Hook. The Aladdin as the genie was after Hook, right? So I guess it was. I'm confident.
Okay.
I think it's like 94 or something.
Okay.
Say it with confidence, and hopefully it's right. But you got to it must have been a really nice thing for you to witness, to see him go on such a massive trajectory.
Oh yeah, and nobody can ever say anything negative about him in my presence, because he lives so large in my heart and always has. So yeah, watching the path that his career took, and just watching everything that he did, and the impact that he had on the world, yeah, that was very exciting to me, because like I said, it was like supporting my big brother, you know what I mean? And yeah, when he passed, I took that particularly hard. I'm not usually one to be affected by the passing of a celebrity, but Robin and I had a more personal connection than just, you know, the average celebrity. And so when he passed, it hit me really hard. And I'm not ashamed to say that I cried, and that I locked myself away for days. And at first I couldn't even watch his movies because it was too painful. And then I did spend a couple of days I kind of shut everything down and just watched a bunch of his movies. And I'm not ashamed to say that I cried my eyes out. And then kind of my way of coping and paying tribute to him, on the 1-year anniversary of his passing, I released a music video of an original song that I wrote in tribute to him. It's called The Day the Laughter Died, and it's also up on my YouTube channel. I got with a couple musician friends of mine, and we got into the studio and recorded this song, and we made a music video that was the recording sessions of the song. And I feel like the song sort of covers everything that needs to be covered about his impact on everybody that was impacted by him, you know, and kind of pays tribute in probably the most loving way that I know how to pay tribute to anybody. And that was kind of my way of dealing with and coping with what had happened. And so, yeah, that video's up on my channel now, and you know, I can send you a link if you want to see it, but definitely was my way to deal with what had happened, for sure.
It's one that we'll definitely share and, you know, and put out there. And I watched it because you're drumming in a lot of it, aren't you? In the video, in the session that you're doing, and it's nice, and it's like a touching tribute, and the singer in it is great. And
oh yeah, he did a really good job.
Very sort of very meaningful words as well that come from it as well.
Thank you. Yeah. The singer and the guitar player were good friends of mine, musicians. They had a band, and I played with them a few times, and they were very gracious to join me on this project. And I felt like, the song needed someone with a powerful singing voice to kind of step in and really deliver what that song needed. And so I was grateful. The singer's name was Jericho, and I was really grateful that Jericho was a part of that project. It definitely was, I think, as powerful as it was because he was there. So really grateful to him. And the guitar player's name was Deacon, and they play in a band together called The Raven and the Rub, and I've seen them play live, and they're awesome. And they were gracious enough to join me in the studio for that project. And so
we'll hopefully do a big shout out to them as well.
We'll put the link to the YouTube video in the description of this as well. So anyone that's listening, any of the links that and videos that we mentioned, we'll put all of that in the description. So it'll be easy to find. And yeah, it's really nice to hear people speak so fondly of celebrities that you grow up idolizing and loving, because sometimes it can be the opposite. Like, you can sort of love someone and then you hear all these like horrible stories about them, and then it's like kind of ruins it a little bit. But As you said, I couldn't imagine anyone ever having a bad word to say about Robin Williams. In fact, we actually had Todd Bosley, who's one of the actors from The Little Giants, but he was also in the movie Jack with Robin Williams, and he was saying the same thing, just on that, how amazing he was to be around, how he sort of would light up the set and was like entertaining the crew, and when they, you know, between takes and things like that, and just being a really sort of gracious man. So I'm sure everyone in a way feels I don't know what the word is, kind of, it's nice to hear, because then he just lives on even further in, you know, in our hearts of being the awesome man that an entertainer that he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's such a shame when you hear, you know, negative things about celebrities who, you know, you thought so well of before, and then you find out these negative things, and none of that applied to Robin. He was nothing but the best of us. He was the best of us. And I definitely feel like the world is a little bit darker without him.
I read somewhere fairly recently that his rider, I don't know how early or late into his film, like big movie career, this became his rider, but every production company that he worked for and all the films that he was on, they had to hire a certain percentage of homeless people to act as crew and work as crew on every film that he did from a certain point, because he wanted these people to be in work and doing something and give something back to society, and that was his way of doing that. And you know, apparently he was always, you know, from what I've read, you know, part of the family, part of the crew, and would talk to absolutely everyone and spend time with them, and which is great to read as a fan, and as someone that has grown up watching his films, and from Hook onwards, you know.
He was definitely a big champion of helping out the homeless. He spent years doing that show, Comic Relief, alongside Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg, where they had comedians come on and do stand-up, and it was all about like raising money to help feed and shelter the homeless. And I don't know exactly how many years he was on that, but several years in a row he did the Comic Relief special. And so yeah, helping the homeless and the less fortunate was always a big part of his life. Like, it was a big thing for him. And yeah, he was always, there was never any sense of like, I'm better than you, you know, around him. Like a lot of other, and again, I'm not going to name any names, but a lot of other people in the position that he was in, there have been stories about like the condescending sort of elitist mindset, but that never existed with Robin. He always made you feel welcome and comfortable, and no matter who you are or what you were doing or in the project or whatever, he always made you feel like it was equal ground. And I remember I had a trailer, and he would come and knock on my trailer door, and my mom would answer, and he would go, "Can Tommy come out to play?" And then we'd go and we'd play ball, you know. And so he never made me feel like he was talking down to me at any point. It was always equal ground. And then we played ball, and we hooked our Game Boys up to get, because that was back when you had to, when you want to play Game Boy with someone, you connect a 3-foot wire, and then you can play Game Boy with each other. And so we did a lot of that kind of stuff. And it was probably the most like welcoming big brother kind of thing that you could ever imagine.
And you seem to share the most screen time with him. So obviously you have that bond and that relationship, because even his sort of kids in the movie, he's quite separate from them for pretty much the whole film. So you must be the person that had the most screen time with him and were with him pretty much all the way through.
I like to think that. There was a scene where Tinkerbell and Rufio are fighting back and forth over whether he's the Pan or not, and the Lost Boys are running back and forth across the line that Rufio had drawn in the sand with his sword. And in that scene, I was supposed to join everybody in running back and forth every time they would say, well, he is, or he's not, and then they'd run. I couldn't. If you watch it, I start on the one side, I run over to Peter's side, and then the rest of the time I stay. I refuse to leave his side because I didn't want to hurt my friend's feelings. So I stay right there by his side the whole time, and I refuse to leave his side. Even when Steven was specifically telling me, Tom, run, go, I wouldn't. I refused. I didn't want to hurt. I didn't want to betray my friend.
I've actually written in my notes every time the kids are like, when Rufio draws the line with the sword, you don't move, you stay with him. And I thought that was brilliant. So it's great to actually hear you bring that up, because I was going to mention it and be like, you don't move. There's even one point where you touch him slightly, because everyone's gone to the other side. Everyone, to coin an English phrase, is everyone's buggered off to Rufio's side, and you're there and you're like, no, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here. I got you, buddy. I got you.
That's loyalty, man.
Heck
that's
yeah, man.
loyalty. But do you
Even
know,
against Spielberg loyalty,
right? Yeah, man. Spielberg is telling me to cross the line and run, and I know if I have to choose between Steven and Robin, I'm staying over here and backing Robin.
You want me in this film, and I'm not crossing that line.
And yet I can do all these things to Steven and still end up getting more screen time and more parts.
Well, that's it. It's probably the more ballsy you were, the more successful you were getting. So
there you go. I heard sometime later, I think it was during the 25th anniversary reunion from Dante, that he got cast because Steven was intimidated by him. So yeah, I think it kind of goes in that line.
That's funny. Well, on that scene of the sword, the line in the sand. So this is another theme that we have on our podcast, is that Dom doesn't cry at anything because he has no soul, and I cry at everything. But I'll admit it, I had tears in my eyes, and I wasn't expecting it to happen. But at the point where you all start touching Peter's face, and it's like, oh, it is you in there, because there's kind of the whole symbolism of, you kind of lose yourself when you're older, and you kind of lose that inner child, and then being rediscovered, and it's like behind all of, these crow's feet and wrinkles that we develop as we get older. And it was sort of like, it was really touching, and it kind of came out of left field. I was like, oh my God, I'm crying on a Sunday afternoon.
It is a very powerful scene, and I think I have to fall on the same side of that as you do. I cry at anything. I get involved, and I feel what's going on. And yeah, me and my fiance just watched Hamilton the other day, and now that it's on Disney Plus, and that had me crying. I'm like, yeah, dude, I fall into that. So you're mentioning that scene, and with the touching of the face and everything. And so I want to say, we talked earlier about my Star Wars fan film. I kind of secretly, secret, not so secret, did a kind of Hook tribute within that film. Later on in Hook, when he becomes the Pan, and he's got the Pan outfit on, and he has the Pan sword, and he kind of lifts the Pan sword up, and to kind of embrace it, and the camera pulls back, and it's this nice big wide shot and everything. I kind of paid homage to that scene at the end of my Star Wars film. The character, the good guy, the Jedi, gets the Dark Lord's red lightsaber, and she heals it and makes it a white lightsaber. And at the end, she reveals it she holds it up, just like, and I did the same camera move and everything that happened in Hook. And it's because it's a fan film, I even used that same music that was from Hook, and it. So I kind of, paid my own little homage to Hook in that scene, because I always felt that was when he embraces who he is and holds up the sword like that. I always felt like that was a very powerful and poignant moment, and so I kind of paid my own little tribute to it in that way. She holds up the lightsaber, and it's a white blade now, and it's the same music and the same camera movement and everything. So
I love that. I'll be watching that later tonight. There's so much about this film that I love, and it kind of fits into this 90s era of where kids films were treated like adult films in terms of, there's there's actually some dark stuff in Hook, but it's got a U. I don't know if this is the same as American certifications, but a U in the UK means any kid, a baby can watch this. You know, anyone can watch it. But you know, there's talks of Hook committing suicide in it, though he was just doing it for attention, we know. But there's all kinds of sort of imagery and things that these days would definitely bump it up. But it also fits in this category of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the 1990 version.
Yeah, dude, the first Ninja Turtles movie is so depressing. Holy goodness, it's so sad. That's why I think the second one goes over the top in the other direction and is just goofy, because the first one was and you don't realize it when you're a kid, but man, as an adult, I went back and watched it and I was like, I'm gonna cry my eyes out over here. This is
well, you got Leonardo in the bathtub, right?
Mm-hmm,
people outside
right?
meditating for him, drawing pictures. And then in the sequel, like you said, they had to overcompensate and bring Vanilla Ice in to try and balance it out.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Yeah. The second one was just so goofy. But
that's
the first
a big
one,
song, though. Go Ninja Go, that's a big song. That's ringtone worthy right there.
For sure. So yeah, you said, just a side quest real quick, you said the U means anybody can watch.
It means universal, doesn't it? So literally
universal,
means
okay,
anyone can watch it over here.
What if I can ask, what are the different ratings over there?
You've got UPG, which is parental guidance, 12, 15 and 18.
Okay, so they actually put like the age you have to be in order to watch. Oh, interesting. Okay.
The PG one, so the one that's just one up from this, means that anyone can watch it if the parent consents. So, and then I think with a 12, I think they changed it. There's like a 12 and a 12A. So 12A is like a kid under 12 can go and watch it if they're accompanied by an adult. But yeah, so I mean, what is it in America?
So in America, the you have G, which means anybody can watch it, right. And then you have PG for parental guidance, and then you have PG-13, which means parental guidance, but really they got to be at least 13. And then from there, you go straight to R, which is restricted, meaning that you got to be at least 17 to watch it, but only if your parent says it's okay. And like they won't let you into the theater if you're under 17 unless you're with a parent. And then from there you go into NC-17, which means nobody under 17, regardless of if they're with a parent or not. So it's interesting that the differences there.
So what was it released as in the US?
That's
quick find.
I want to say G. I think G. I mean, I feel like at the time things were a lot less strict, and you can get away with a lot more in a G than you could now. So I want to say it was G. I do have a copy of it on my DVD shelf. I could go check. I don't remember.
It's okay.
G sounds right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing, what I'm trying to allude to is that Hook wouldn't exist today. Like if they did Peter Pan today, it would be Pixar CGI or whatever. Or if it was a live action, Peter would be flying around and it'd all be CGI. And this is one of like my gripes with like I'm going to go on a real tangent now. But
do it.
But like, there's a reason why Jurassic Park, the original one, is the best one of that trilogy. No, it's just the best one in general. Of course it is. But because of the animatronics, and it doesn't obviously it's Spielberg again, but it doesn't overdo the CGI, and it builds up the suspense, and, it takes an hour before you see the T-Rex, and all of these, reasons why Spielberg is, masterful at creating movies. But it's but now it would all be just all guns blazing, computer animated, and these 90s films, they have that darkness to them that is, I guess, appealing to the adults, but I feel like it's got more longevity. I mean, I don't know. Am I just being like a depressing old man?
No, I'm right there with you, man. The films in the 90s, they had, like you said, it was animatronics. It was a lot of practical effects and a lot of actual sets. You know, all of the sets that you saw in Hook were actually built in a sound studio. The pirate ship existed. The treehouse existed. Everything was real. You know, and a lot of movies now, they film on a green screen set. You know, or in the case of The Mandalorian, they film in front of an LED wall. But you know, Hook and a lot of the movies from that era, they built the real sets, and everything was really there, and that gives it a whole different kind of feel. It's like you said, movies nowadays, it's all you go in guns blazing with all the CG, and I'm with you on that, man. The CG, it helps, but it's a tool to help you tell a story. You don't want to overuse that tool. You want to use it when and where, you know, it fits. And I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
I get what you're saying. I mean, I think a good example is that where it balances it well is the Planet of the Apes trilogy, the more recent ones. And the reason why I think it works well there is because, you know, you've got Andy Serkis and other people in the suits, in the motion capture. So as much as it's CGI, you know, apes, etc., but you know the movements are being done. So it's almost like it's a hybrid in the middle, where sometimes you can get people, you know, some of the CG stuff, where it's just, you know, that that's not even, no one's done any of it. So it's almost like you're watching half a movie and half a cartoon. It's sort of merged together. But again, it's not to be negative. This is just, you know, my subjective tastes, and it's not to say there's anything wrong with, and I'm sure that's what you're saying as well. It's not to say there's anything wrong with these movies. They all have an audience for it. I just think that when you see something like Hook, and, you know, Jurassic Park, and even, you know, go way back to Jaws and things like that, it's like I respect the effort that went into creating the effect of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And from an actor's point of view, you're definitely going to get a better performance, a more realistic and believable performance out of your actors if you put them in a scenario where they can actually see and feel and know what's going on around them, than in a green screen studio and have all of that stuff put in afterward. You know what I mean? Because then they're just reacting to nothing, and they're going just off of what you tell them is going to be there, and it's imagination playtime. But if you actually put them in the environment with the practical effect, with the dinosaur, actually the head right there, you know, you're going to get a better performance. You know, to bring it back to Hook, at the end, Hook is defeated. The crocodile comes down and lands on Captain Hook, and then I come in and I look in the mouth and I say, "Hook's gone," and I go through. I was bloody terrified to go through the mouth of that crocodile, because it was so big and it looked so real. And of course I was 6, so to me it looked real, and I had just watched the croc come down and eat Captain Hook, and I was supposed to go through the mouth. If you watch it, I come up and I look in, I give the line, and then the camera pulls back, and then way later I kind of jump through real quick. I was terrified that he was going to close his mouth and catch me when I jumped through. It was terrifying because it was really there. They really built it, and they really made it look like a crocodile, and I actually had to run through it. You know, so I think that goes back into what you're saying. Having it really there made it more believable, not only for the audience, but for the actor as well.
It's a fantastic shot as well. So when it comes down and it lands, it's like in that shape, and then you're just there. Straight through. So you've got like the arch of the jaw, and there's just you standing there looking like, okay, I've got to approach this now.
I was so scared to go through that. We did several takes, and of the first few takes, I couldn't even do it. Eventually I did it, but way after my cue. And if you see it, the camera pulls back and everybody's running in and all that, and then I kind of way later jump in and go through real quick. Like, it was so scary. It was so scary.
One thing I wanted to talk about was your lines in the film. So you've got some of the best lines and sort of little really like nice little moments. Were you given a script, or was it this is going to be your line for this scene, this is what you need to say at this point, or was it just say something and we'll kind of work it from there?
Oh no, I definitely had a script, and I had the full movie script, which of course changed, as production went. But then every day, that morning or sometimes the night before, I would receive a script for the scene that we're going to film that day, and so everything was definitely written out and planned, and there wasn't really, at least that I can remember, there wasn't really a lot of like improvising or anything like that. Everything was sort of, at least not from like my end. I'm sure Robin did a lot of improvising, but because that's what he's known for. But no, all of my lines were written out and planned, and definitely the only thing that I can recall off the top of my head that was not supposed to be in the script that ended up making it. There's a shot where I have a tomato launcher, and it's in a close-up shot of me, and I'm aiming my tomato launcher, and I kind of just like rub my face because like I had an itch, and I want to say that's still in. They might have cut it out, but they kept telling me, "Don't touch your face," and I did. So I don't recall if that's still in it or not, but or in another scene, I was dressed up like a pirate and I had a mustache, and I kept playing with the mustache. I wasn't supposed to, but that's really the extent of anything that I did that wasn't scripted. So all of my lines were scripted. I don't think all of my lines originally were intended for me, because there were definitely parts where Stephen knew that he needed a lost boy to deliver this line, and then had to choose one. And then as production went on, he chose me to deliver this line more often, and other lines went to other lost boys as they went. So he kind of had a rough idea of this needs to happen, and then as we go, we figure out who's going to be the one doing it.
So one thing I tend to do is kind of unintentionally put some of the stars that we talk to under pressure and go, can you remember any of your lines? But most importantly, can you remember your first line? But don't worry if you can't, because I'll try Simon in a minute and he won't get it right, so it's fine.
My first line, I think I only had 15 lines, 20 lines, less than that. I don't remember exactly how many he had. Let's see, my first line would have been, he's an old fat grandpa man.
Perfect. Spot on. Well done. I think you're the first one to get it right.
And then I think I remember most of my lines. I can tell you this. At one point I give the line, "Welcome back, Pan the Man." And a lot of people, whenever I do an interview like this, they question me on that line, because a lot of people tend to think it's Panda Man. That's not the line. It's not Panda Man. It's Pan the Man.
I've got that one written down too. Is it "Welcome back to Neverland, Pan the Man," which is a line. Great line.
That's the line. Panda Man doesn't make any sense. Pan the Man.
Unless he was, dressing up as a bear. But
right.
He didn't really do that. I've got a question for Simon.
Oh no.
So when Pan is when Peter is being reminded of who he is, and they're trying to get him to fly, and he's thinking happy thoughts. Do you know what sign Thomas or Too Small is holding when they're holding them up to think, when it wants them to think happy thoughts? Any ideas?
Holding up a sign. What does it say? Something on the sign?
They're all holding up happy thoughts. Like this could kick in or generate a happy thought.
Oh, okay.
Just before Peter Pan falls into the colorful mud.
Yeah.
Yes. Off the slingshot.
He's going up. He's going up. He's coming down.
No, I can't remember. Food? Is it food?
It's not food. No. Thomas, do you know?
I believe my sign said birthdays.
It did. It said birthday. So BERFDAY, birthday.
Nice. Well, you got to ride on his back. That's a great part when he's going through his like working out montage, right?
You're instrumental in getting Robin Williams fit.
It was that particular scene. I got into a little. I don't want to say a disagreement with the Lost Boy that was behind me, because I'm riding on Peter's piggyback, and the Lost Boy behind me, Isaiah, he keeps smacking Peter, but he keeps hitting me in the butt instead of hitting Peter. So he's spanking me as we're going along, and I kept yelling at him, and it was like a little disagreement there. Like, don't spank me.
Well, this a question that we also like to ask people, and we get very varied responses. So we've asked people how many times roughly that they've seen the movie that they've been in. So we have some people that say they've seen it, like hardly ever. They watched it once, they can't watch it again. And we have the record, somebody watched the movie they were in 100 times. How many times would you say you've seen Hook over the years?
I don't know that I can put a number on it. I can tell you that initially I watched it a lot. Because a lot of people wanted to watch it with me. I saw it the first time at the premiere party. And then after that, whenever I watched it, it was somebody wanting to watch it with me. And then I definitely kind of hit a point where I just sort of stopped watching it as much. I feel like the last time that I actually watched it was when it was, there was a Blu-ray that was released couple of years ago that had some deleted scenes in it, and I picked up a copy of that, and I watched it, and I wanted to see what the scenes were that were deleted, that they added, but to be honest, I've seen it a few times, initially a lot, but I haven't seen it all that much in recent years.
When you was a kid and was watching it, would you just skip the first act? Like, would you just skip it straight to when he's in Neverland?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I did that more often than not. Because again, if a lot of it is I'm watching it with someone that wants to watch it with me, and therefore they want to get to Neverland. So yeah, I feel like I've definitely seen that first act a lot less than the rest of the film.
It was crazy. So for me, I've probably seen Hook probably like 10 times, I'd say, but I probably haven't seen it since for like 25 years or something. We're 33, Dom and I. Birthdays are 2 weeks apart, so we classify as the same person now. So
okay.
I'm 33. You've still got 2 days to go.
2 days
nice.
to go, yeah. But watching it recently, like I wouldn't have picked up, I don't think, as a child on like the sort of the Peter Wendy vibes at, like in the first act, and the dynamic of she's old but not, and the whole back and forth and whatever, which is great. Like I really enjoyed it, but that probably went over my head. I mean, when you watched it as a kid, were you picking up on that stuff, or that was over your head as well?
Oh, there was definitely a lot of it that was over my head. That definitely, also Captain Hook's suicide scene, that also over my head. What 6-year-old, what 7-year-old knows about depression and suicide and stuff like that? Yeah, there's a lot of it that I picked up on as an adult, which tends to be the case with most films, with most anything. As a kid, you don't see it, and then you watch it through the eyes of an adult, and you pick up on things like that you didn't see the first time around. That's definitely a common thing for sure.
Well, and you had some other big legends in the movie as well: Dustin Hoffman, Bob Hoskins. I mean, did you have any cool interactions with them on set or anything like that?
And Julia Roberts.
Do you know? I was almost leaving her out on purpose, because a lot of what I'd read online was that, so I won't ask you for comment because I don't want to put you in that sort of position, but a lot of stuff that I had read online was that she had like a nickname on set, or instead of Tinker Bell, for being Tinker Hell, and that she was difficult to work with. She had someone that had to clean her feet. This is all stuff I've just read on IMDb. So I thought, let's just leave that to one side. potentially I'll edit and cut this part out. But
okay. I'll say there's a little bit of truth to some of that, and then I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I will say this though. Of all of the people that were involved in the cast, Julia is probably the one person who I had no contact with at all. And that was done very much on purpose, because at the time, she had just come off of Pretty Woman. She was a rising, leading lady, and she was always surrounded by a security detail. She had some a stalker that was a security threat or something like that. And so the only people that really worked with her were Steven and Robin and her personal crew. And so nobody else really had any direct contact with her. And so, yeah, when I talk about the people I worked with on that film, I also sort of leave her out because I didn't really work with her. Like, she's in the same film, but I never had any kind of personal connection to her at all. She kept herself, for safety reasons, secluded behind her security at pretty much all times. And I think the only reason that Robin even worked with her is because they had the one scene with her where she grows big, and so they had a scene together. But even the rest of the time when she's interacting with people, she's tiny and everyone else is normal size. So even those times, she's clearly not, like the scene she had with Hook, she wasn't really there. We're done separately and then composited. So she didn't really interact with anybody except for Steven and Robin. So it's kind of justified to leave her off of that list. But at the same time, we still got to mention her because she was there and all that. So
thank you, Tom. See, Dom. Okay, you get it now, Dom.
Just justifying Simon now, whatever.
well, we had Maggie Smith. It's a big name. I know they didn't share any scenes, but I mean, still, that's a big name to have in there. I mean, did you get to meet her or just in passing?
I think I met her at the wrap party, and that's just because she was in the real world and I was in Neverland, and so those two worlds didn't really meet. And they, as far as I know, they filmed all of the real world stuff in London, whereas they filmed all the Neverland stuff on a soundstage in LA. And so, yeah, I just never really came in contact with her. I want to say I met her at the wrap party though. So at least I did meet her.
What would be great is for all your music stuff that's coming out is if you met Phil Collins as well and had any sort of screen time, because he's in it for a very, very short time. But I was really surprised by. I had no idea he was in it until he popped up when I last watched it. I was like, oh yeah, Jesus, that's Phil Collins.
The film is actually filled with celebrity cameos that a lot of people don't even realize. Like when Tinkerbell is carrying Peter away to Neverland for the first time, and she's dropping all that fairy dust, and there's a couple that kind of rises up. They're like making out, and they kind of rise up. That couple is George Lucas and Carrie Fisher.
Yeah,
and people don't realize it.
I didn't know that.
The film is filled with cameos. The pirate that gets put in the boo box, that's Glenn Close. And then there's another pirate that, Glenn Close dressed up like a male pirate. And because of all the makeup, you don't recognize her. And then there was another one. He was a singer. He's from Crosby, Stills and Nash. He was one of the pirates when the kids were up there in the net, and Peter's supposed to fly up and catch them. He has a line or two about fly up there, and I don't remember the line. But yeah, that's I want to say one of the guys from Crosby, Stills and Nash. I can't remember his name. But yeah, there's cameos all throughout the film, and people don't really know and aren't really aware because they kind of fly under the radar.
I'd read online, I don't know if this is true, but apparently the original choice for Hook, they wanted to get David Bowie for that. Did you ever hear that?
I have not heard that one. I heard that Michael Jackson was being considered for the part of Peter Pan. But that's just that's a rumor that I heard. I don't know how true that was, but No, I hadn't heard David Bowie for Hook. That would have been an interesting movie altogether.
David Bowie or Michael Jackson would have been crazy.
Can you imagine? My goodness.
Yeah.
Maybe this is partly, it didn't work out, so he built his own Neverland branch in tribute or something, so he could play,
for sure.
in his garden. Oh, what about Dustin Hoffman? Did you have any cool interaction with him?
I did. He had his birthday during the filming, and I attended, and he served gummy bears and Kool-Aid, and he gave a gift to everybody that was an audio book of him reading Horton Hears a Who. And so I had a cassette tape of Horton Hears a Who read by Dustin Hoffman somewhere 30 years ago. I couldn't tell you what happened to it now, but he gave that out. And so I did get to have some interaction with him. Not quite as much as Robin. Dustin Dustin was definitely the kind of guy that when the cameras are rolling, he's up and he's larger than life. But as soon as it's cut, he's sort of subdued and kind of keep to himself kind of guy. So, which, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just kind of the way that he was.
That's cool. And Bob Hoskins?
Mm-hmm. I feel like I met him and got some interaction with him, but nothing that I particularly can remember that stands out as much as some of the others.
So one thing we like to ask as well, which you can be as honest or as dishonest as you like. We're never going to know.
Okay.
But it's whether you have any kind of like memorabilia, any stuff from the set or anything that you were given as mementos. Obviously, you've got Dustin Hoffman's tape somewhere. That's pretty cool.
I do actually. I have two things.
Oh, he's got them to hand.
So first, I have this goblet that is sort of my pencil holder now. This was on screen. I think it was in on a pirate ship somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where it was used. And then afterward, it was engraved for me.
That's awesome.
And so this kind of sits on my desk and holds my pens and my Mr. Meeseeks that my fiance put googly eyes on. So I have that, and then I have this is sort of the prize, my prized possession right here. This is a hardbound copy of the original draft of the script that was made by Robin as a wrap gift. He only made like a dozen of these and handed them out at the wrap party. This is the original draft of the script, not the version that we shot because it changed quite a bit over time. But this is the original draft. And on the front of this is a personal message and autograph.
Wow.
And so if anyone's listening instead of watching, the message says, "To Thomas, too small. Thank you for everything that you did. Love, Peter. Robin Williams." His autograph.
That is incredible. I mean, that's the thing. If the house is burning down, that you run and grab.
Oh, yeah, for sure, definitely. I haven't even. I don't even read it. Like I just kind of hold on to it. I keep it in this plastic baggie to keep it safe because this is the kind of thing that you take care of. You know what I mean? For sure.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That's really cool.
It's making me nervous that it's now not back in the plastic bag.
Yeah. I was going to wait till after, but
no, we've got time. It's fine. The little prop that you've got there is from the tankard is fantastic, and the fact that they got it engraved as well, and that script. I mean, the previous actors that we've spoken to, they've said that. So the Little Giants guy said, "Oh yeah, we got a helmet." I'd be like, I would pick that script over anything else. So
I think so. Yeah,
a fantastic memento.
That script is because it's more than just a memento from the film. It was actually a personalized gift from Robin, and he only made like a dozen of them, and there's only like a dozen people have a copy of this, and it wasn't just like something that was used and I took and kept. It was something that was actually gifted to me specifically. So, and I also have, now I think about it, somewhere in a box, I'm not going to try to dig up, but I have a t-shirt that was kind of a cast t-shirt. Everyone got one, said Hook Lost Boys on the front, and then I went around kind of like a yearbook and got autographs from all the Lost Boys and all of the cast members, and it's got Steven and Robin and you know, just like everybody's autograph on this t-shirt that also is packed in plastic and in a box somewhere in my closet.
James Madio. That's the
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, eventually, I mean, there's been lots of iterations of Peter Pan as we've gone on. I mean, if they were to do, they have done a live action one, haven't they? But I mean, if they were to do one in this vein again, or to do like a prequel or you know, or a sequel even, I mean, would you reprise a cameo? Would you be down to, you know?
I would definitely be down to be involved. I'd be down to be involved somehow. However, I don't know if I could pass as one of the Lost Boys again, but maybe there's a backstory where my character comes back to Earth and grows up and I'm the future iteration of Too Small. I can say that it was in my contract that if they had done a sequel within, I think it was 5 years of the first one, then I was contractually entitled to reprise my character, but they ended up not doing the sequel. So, but yeah, I would totally be down to be a part of it. Of course. Who wouldn't?
Well, if the Easily Amused group decide to put it on or put it together, then
there you go.
We know how to be in it now. So we're gonna walk into your office, slam it down.
There you go.
You want us in your film?
You know what? Whatever works. Whatever works.
What are some of your favorite 90s movies?
Oh gosh. So right off the bat, I will say The Princess Bride. That to me is what I feel like a lot of people tell me Hook is to them. That's the one I've watched it 100 times. I actually just watched it again last night because they were passing around this online, this video of a bunch of different actors reprising, like recreating scenes from it. And so it was like a viral thing. And I saw that and I was like, this is fun, but I just want to watch the movie. So I popped in Princess Bride last night. And then let's see, Wayne's World is another big one. I love Wayne's World.
Nice.
Airheads.
With Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. I love that movie.
Where is it? Hang on. Wait.
You have it.
No, I love that movie as well. I have
nice.
I have it on my pinboard. I love that movie so much.
Nice.
Steve
Lone Rangers.
Steve Buscemi in that movie, so good.
Oh, he's great. Oh yeah, and yeah, Adam Sandler as the quiet, cool drummer, and just the whole concept of that movie where they're holding up the radio station with squirt guns filled with pepper sauce. Like, you don't get movies like that anymore. You know what I mean?
I love that. Right. So I have this weird thing. I've told Dom many times and our listeners that I will sometimes listen to movies while I'm doing like hoovering or cleaning around the house, and I'll just have the audio on because I've like watched them so many times. It's like I can picture it in my head. And Airheads is definitely one of those that I can do that with.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Airheads. I can do that. I can do that with The Office, the American version of The Office. I can just hear it, and I've seen it enough that I can just see in my head what's going on for sure.
Prison Mike. I just. Dom, have you seen Airheads?
Yeah, a long time ago, but not like recently.
Oh well, you're gonna have to fix that, my friend.
Yeah, definitely get back on that.
We need to cover that on the podcast at some point. What else? What other 90s?
Let's see. Off the top of my head was Spaceballs was 90s, right?
I think that might have been 80s.
Might have been 80s. Okay. I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan. So if Spaceballs was 80s, then Robin Hood Men in Tights would have been 90s, right?
Yeah, that must.
Okay, so I'll say that one. Let's see. Oh, and then of course any of Robin's films, Jumanji is one of my all-time favorites.
Jumanji's great. Yeah. Well, my mind now, I really have to know whether it was in the 80s or not. Have you already looked it up, Dom?
87.
87, just barely.
Yeah.
I think Princess Bride was 87 as well, I think.
Oh no. Okay, so I think I'm more leaning into the 80s. Let's see. Okay, so I got to come up with Liar Liar was 90s, right?
The pen is this pen is royal blue.
Yes, that was 90s, or like late 90s though, but still 90s, right?
Yeah.
97. Yeah.
97. There you go. Or the what a lot of people consider to be the first blockbuster, Independence Day.
Yeah.
That was what, 95, right? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Independence Day, brilliant, amazing. Well, it launched Will Smith into the next atmosphere, didn't it? Pun intended, maybe, but the of like Hollywood stardom, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
That's awesome.
And then again, the first Jurassic Park. The best Jurassic Park.
Yes. We just covered Jurassic Park on our last episode. Me and Dom, we did 3 hours just going through how much we love it, how perfect it is, and talking about Spielberg and how just that sort of the 90s is. I mean, he's always been amazing from all the way from the 70s to and continuing to be, but I'd say like the 90s is kind of peak prime Spielberg.
Yeah, that's where the whole like Spielbergian feel was sort of defined, and you could tell if you didn't know that a movie was done by him just by how it felt, for sure.
Yeah, they always have that. It sort of always has a family vibe to it, like in terms of like Jurassic Park as well. Like they have the kids in it, and this is what Dom and I were saying about it. Was it has kids in it, but they're not annoying. It's the same as Hook. You've got the kids in, but they're not annoying. And then we were saying you've got some movies. The example we used was like John Connor in Terminator 2. It's like he's borderline. Sometimes you want Arnie to switch on him, but
yes. And you know what? I know exactly what you mean by that too.
He's a necessary evil, isn't he, in the film?
And that sort of the way that Edward Furlong played that character, it fits with how like the bad boy was in the 90s. Like there was a stereotype and he fit right in. So really this is a critique on that bad boy 90s bad boy stereotype more so than, but yeah, I get with exactly what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, that's completely right. And it's also his character is meant to be a bit annoying, and a bit like hop on one foot and all the bits that he does, it's kind of like it's part of the character, and he does play it really well.
Have you guys covered Terminator 2 yet on your podcast?
No,
not yet. No.
So prime example of like, I love Terminator 2, but I'm still gonna tear it apart. There's one scene where him and his friend just got the money out of the ATM, and then they're talking about his real mom. He puts on his backpack 3 times in a row. Just because of the way they edited it. He puts it on, and then it cuts to another angle, and he's putting it on again, and then it cuts to another angle, and he's putting it on again. I love the film, but I'm still going to notice little things like that.
My wife does that all of the time. She's like, pause it. Like that glass was like now half full, and it was, empty, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That goes over my head. But
I'm a little bit similar. Like Saving Private Ryan is probably my all-time favorite film, but there's about 9 or 10 mistakes in it, and I that's all I see now.
But it doesn't detract you from enjoying the film. It's just you notice the little things for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like got to be impossible to get a movie to be completely perfect when you're working to the timeline and a budget and all of that stuff. So films that when they're good, they earn the credit for those things to be overlooked.
Exactly. Yeah. And then they ask you to suspend disbelief and kind of, accept the world that it's trying to present. And as soon as you do that, then even if you notice the little mistakes, you forgive and forget that they're happening, and you're still able to enjoy the film. And that's really what I meant in that one YouTube video about Star Wars fans, where they're seeing the little things and it's making them rise up in anger against the film rather than still enjoying the film while noticing the little imperfections. Because it's practically impossible to have a film be completely perfect with any tiny little flaws of any kind. Like, it's just through the nature of it, it's practically impossible.
But yeah, Airheads does it. So
for sure. That's such a great film. I mean, I don't know if it's cult classic status or anything, but it will always be one of my favorites.
Same. It's kind of, it fits in the same bracket for me as like, I don't know if you'll agree or not, but like Billy Madison, I really love that as well. Happy Gilmore, those early Adam Sandler movies.
Oh yeah. There's definitely a kind of comedy that existed in the late 80s and in the 90s that is a whole thing unto itself that they don't really make comedies like that anymore. Now comedies feel more like it's being spoon-fed to you, whereas a lot of the comedies of the time, there was a little more subtlety and there was a little more finesse to the humor. And I totally go in with comedies from that era more so than recently.
Like you said with Wayne's World would never be made now, and both of them are so classic to me. Do you have a favorite of the two Wayne's Worlds?
I like them both, but I do like the first one better.
Okay, purist. You're a purist.
I mean, I like the second one too. I just I happen to enjoy the first one a little more. That's all.
Do you have a preference, Dom, on Wayne's World?
Again, two films that I haven't seen for a long time. I think probably the last time I watched them was with you, a long time ago. So I would probably say
you're hosting a 90s movie podcast.
I've watched a lot of other 90s films. I just haven't caught up with those yet.
Dom spent the 90s watching Saving Private Ryan daily.
Okay.
From 98 onwards, I pretty much just watched that.
Well, that was definitely a good film and worthy of watching on repetition for 20 years.
Yeah. And another Spielberg film.
That's true.
Damaged. Aren't I, Simon?
You are.
Yeah, you put Spielberg and Tom Hanks together, and you're gonna have gold every time. I'm telling you. They did more recently a Bridge of Spies. Came out a couple of years ago. It was another Spielberg and Tom Hanks, and that was such a powerful film too. Those two just make magic whenever they get together.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks has got a new one out, Greyhound, I think it's called. The submarine one in World War II as well. I wonder if Spielberg has got any production credit on that.
I don't know if he does. I can't say, but I'm meaning to watch. Probably going to watch that this weekend. I haven't seen it yet. I think it just came out, but I just saw Tom Hanks on Stephen Colbert talking about it, and so I'm definitely really interested. Going to watch that this weekend probably.
Cool.
Did Spielberg do Catch Me If You Can? I think he did.
I think so. That was a good movie.
That was Tom Hanks and DiCaprio, wasn't it?
Yeah. Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio, and that was And I remember I've always been very impressed with Leonardo DiCaprio's acting. I feel like he's very underrated because in Catch Me If You Can, it obviously was all filmed at the same time, but since it covers so much of the lifespan of that character, you can easily see how he carries himself as a young man versus an adult. You know what I mean? Like he's such a good actor that you believe, oh, he's a kid. And then in the next scene, oh, he's a full-grown adult. You believe it. He's definitely underrated, I would think, as an actor.
Tommy, we're like the same person. I can't say enough how much I love Leonardo DiCaprio as an actor for all of those reasons you just said. And he's so versatile, gives such a great performance, and he's able to carry a whole film pretty much on his own. I mean, obviously not in that one, Tom Hanks and etc. But he is, I don't know, he's so good. It's hard to name a DiCaprio film that isn't good or that he hasn't given a good performance in.
Oh yeah, in This Boy's, no, it was What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I totally believed that they had hired a mentally challenged person to play that role until I saw his next film, This Boy's Life, and I was like, whoa, he's a normal person. Like,
yeah,
what?
my wife does that as well. Yeah, I mean, even like Basketball Diaries with James Madio, and which was an early one, you know, Titanic, obviously people, you know, because it was so big and everything, he gives a great performance in that. And then things like The Departed, Shutter Island.
Oh man, yeah, The Departed.
Inception.
Inception. Oh yeah. I was just watching a behind the scenes thing on Inception earlier this morning on how they filmed some of those scenes. One of the dream sequences where gravity shifts and you see the water and everything. They actually built the room that they filmed in on a giant seesaw, so the whole room tilts. And it's like, wow, that's just it. I want to go watch Inception again.
Just hearing you say that makes me want to watch Inception again. It's such a good film.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
So many of his films are so great. So yes, that's awesome to hear you say that. And we haven't covered a DiCaprio film yet. And I guess there's not as many to choose from in the 90s, apart from Titanic.
Titanic's the main one, isn't it? To be
fair. Yeah, Titanic is like, you know, it was the highest grossing film of all time for a long time. Yeah. So you definitely got to cover that one. Romeo and Juliet, another good one from the 90s.
Yeah, Claire Danes is in that as well, isn't she? There's a film called Total Eclipse.
Total Eclipse. I don't
that
think
he's in 1995.
Okay.
Marvin's Room.
Okay.
Again.
Basketball Diaries is a particularly difficult one to watch. Have you seen that?
I have, but not recently. I think I saw it when it originally came out.
Right. Well, yeah, it's I've seen it maybe twice. It's just difficult to watch in terms of there's a lot of like crying and, you know, drug use and stuff. It's kind of, you know, a spiraling down story, but it's still, you know, well made and well acted, etc. You've got a young Mark Wahlberg in there as well. And
you've got the man in the Iron Mask.
Oh,
you got Jeremy Irons, John Malkovich.
Don't think about it. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you think about it and remember how much you enjoy that. So that's a good film.
Do you know? Confession: I've actually never seen it.
I have.
Okay. So we have Wayne's World and The Man in the Iron Mask as your next couple of podcasts.
Agreed. Done.
We could sit here and talk about movies with you all day, but I'm sure you probably have a life, things to do.
Sometimes I try here and there.
Have you got any other questions, Dom?
I just want to say a massive thank you for all your time, for agreeing to come on and talk to us, for your amazing insight, and for showing us kind of the heartwarming side of your experience and experiences with Robin Williams as well. And it's great to hear the stories that you've got and all the memories and just literally everything that you've had to say, and really enjoy looking at your stuff online as well, that we really want to share. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Very kind. Thank you so much, man. This has been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, it's a real honor for us to speak to people like you that are giving your time to us to share about these movies that mean so much to us. So, you know, thank you from a fan perspective. And it's just been really nice talking to you as well. It always makes it so much nicer when the person is so nice. And yeah, like I said, I could talk to you about movies, or me and Dom could talk to you about movies all day, and we'd love it. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I've had a good time talking with you guys. And if it's not stepping out of bounds, if I might promote one more little thing with you guys.
Of course.
I have a show that I've been kind of promoting lately that I'm on. Season 1 is on YouTube right now, but season 2 is about to be released on Amazon. And if I could promote that for half a second, if you don't mind. The show is called Real Acting, and it's sort of the Office style mockumentary following an acting class. And my character, Daniel, is sort of the experienced SAG actor, the professional that's kind of friends with the teacher. So I'm there to kind of judge all the up and coming wannabe actors in the class with me. And then I'm an actor in it, and I'm also on the writing staff. And so that's kind of been one of my big primary focuses lately is promoting this show. And we actually just finished filming season 2 right before the COVID lockdown started. So we got it right in under the wire. And the director, producer is telling me that any day now, season 2 will be available on Amazon. So if, and I can send you guys a link to this too, but if you guys go to youtube.com/White Ninja Productions, you can find, that's the production company that makes the show. You can find the show Real Acting, season 1 at least. And, spread the word about that show.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, 100%. We'll put the links to that in the description. And yes, please, everybody get involved and support that. And Dom and I for sure will be on that. And yeah, that's awesome. And anytime you have anything else in the future that that we can help spread the word about, please let us know. We can do that on Instagram, or you could come back on and tell us about it, and we'd love to hear all about it.
Sounds good. That's amazing. Thank you. You guys, this has been a lot of fun talking with you guys about movies and stuff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's high praise. Well, to our people out there listening, please rate, review, subscribe, all of that good stuff on the YouTube, on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, Dom.
Follow us on Instagram at the Mighty 90s, and follow Thomas as well. We follow him, so yeah, make sure that you find him and look at all his content, look at everything that we've done, and if you are leaving a review, then please be gentle with us
and wear gloves.
Yeah, wear gloves and your mask.
Now your mask, yeah.
Show me the honey.
Steamboat Willie. Dude.
Don't want to raise your kids. I don't even like kids.
His name is Robert Paulson.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was.
I'm Woody. Howdy.
I'm gonna show you God does exist.
I am invincible! Go, baby, go! Once again!
I see pride!
Junior!
I see power! I see a badass mother who won't take no crap off from nobody!
That's right!
There's not a man today who could take me away from my God.
Wee, you good looking. You're hot.
It's like looking in a mirror, only not.
And I don't think they give him for surfing the internet.
Go, baby, go!
And when everyone says it can't be done, ducks fly together.
Shooter!
Rocky loves Emily. Rocky loves Emily. Rocky loves
What's going on?
Well, welcome back to Neverland Pan, the man.